Hello everyone. As you may know, Jagex recently re-added some random events back into the game, but not as events, just as the NPCs, and they put them in locations which make sense for them, and I'll be going through this video talking about them. And this is actually a bit unlike most of my other pictures of the past videos in that it's actually new footage, and but I'll still be talking about a bit about what randoms used to be like. And so actually this thing that I'm showing here is it's with the Orb of Oculus. If you go into the blast furnace area in Keldegrim, you go to the north wall and use the Orb of Oculus, you can actually see these old random event areas to the north, which is sort of cool, a little bit odd. This one, the church here, is actually the candlelight one, which was it wasn't in the game for very long. I actually only remember ever having it once. And so anyway, next on to the rest of the stuff. So next, before we get into the actual randoms, one thing that they also added is the ability to buy a bunch of the random event outfits directly from the costume shop there in Varrock. And so that's sort of cool. Yeah, it's a good way to get them since you can't actually do the randoms now. And it also unlocks the emotes if you go and buy the full set there. So that's good. And as you can see here, also the Mime mask is quite buggy, but that's okay. So the first and most interesting random, at least in terms of the update, is probably Mr. Mordat, and he was placed into the Varrock Museum. You'd go visit him under the staircase there, and depending on which quests and which Dragonkin related stuff you've done, you can talk to him and learn some stuff about him. And one of the most interesting facts is that he was actually made as a mix between a fairy dragon, which you saw in the Recipe for Disaster quest, and the Queen Black Dragon. So it ended up making him a rather unique dragon in that he doesn't want to just like kill everything. And yeah, so he sort of got like the Dragonkin intelligence, but he didn't get the physical power and stuff that they have. He can't really breathe much fire, he says. And so this random event is the Beekeeper, and in contrast with Mr. Mordat, they didn't really add much to him. He just explains a bit about what the beehives here are for. In the actual random event, you'd have to place the 4 different parts of one of the beehives together so that it made sense. Yeah, it wasn't a particularly interesting random, so that's that. This next one is Captain Arnvan, and you might remember him from just whisking you away to that little desert island, and you had to help him unlock a chest. And actually his conversation in here in his house, he talks about how he has a chest of drawers that's stuck or something, and you ask if he needs help opening it, and he says that it'll give him something to do. So yeah, that's sort of cool. Just a nice little thing that yeah, now he's doing stuff for himself. The next one isn't particularly interesting. They made Miles, Giles, and Niles, all 3 of them I believe, come and help you. Or they tell you what banknotes are, so they're sort of helping you identify stuff, as opposed to before where you had to identify ridiculous stuff. Yeah, I mean, I suppose most of you guys probably remember most of these randoms. There may be some later on that people don't remember. And actually, if you look on the wiki page that I have linked in the description, there was actually one random event in there which I had never heard of before. Dr. Ford. It was this doctor who came when you were woodcutting or mining, and like a rock would fall on you or a log would fall on you, and you'd have to tell how many fingers he was holding up. And if you check the wiki page on him, evidently the fingers that he held up were randomly generated, and he could be giving people the middle finger, and so they removed that random. But I thought that was interesting and amusing. I'd never heard of it before. The next random is the Drill Sergeant, and he was moved into the circus, which seems sort of odd, but if you talk to him, evidently he used to be in the same platoon or something with Balthazar, who's the ringmaster, so he got a job there as a handyman and keeping people in line. I think the term was rousty. I don't really know what that means, but anyway, so yeah, good for him, I guess. The next random is Evil Bob on Escape Rune, and you can actually get there through the Fairy Network using the code CIS, I believe, which is quite cool. So you can visit it, and it's a little bit strange. If you talk to the servant there, you can ask her if she wants to escape, and she says something like something odd about like being Bob's pet now, or I don't know, it was a little weird. Yeah, you guys can read the chat there for yourselves if you're interested, or go check it out on your own, that too. But it's a little odd. The next one is Molly and Moira, who are the twin, the evil and good twin, I suppose, and they go through a conversation where they argue about how one is the good twin and the bad twin, but then one's a good sister and bad sister because one's mean to the other or something, and they keep switching places, which is weird. I don't really know what's going on there. The next one here is the freaky Forrester, who's in McGruber's woods, and he actually gives a little backstory on why he wants you to kill the pheasant with a certain number of tails, and it's because he is afraid of the pheasants who he thinks are mutated and are trying to and he thinks they're from the void and they're trying to take over the forest. So yeah, that's a little bit odd as well, but it's good to know why he wanted us to kill all of those pheasants. The next one is another fairy ring code, and this one is BeKQ, and this takes you to the Enchanted Valley, which has actually been out for a while, but they recently added a couple new people to it. So when they took away the randoms that could kill you, so, like the tree spirit and the rock golem, they actually put them in this Enchanted Valley here. So if you try cutting down the trees, it'll make the tree spirit pop up, and if you try mining there, it'll make the golem pop up. And so that's old, but it is cool to see those if you don't remember them, or if you didn't play and didn't experience them. But what they did add to this area is the Frog Prince and Princess, and so evidently they're on their honeymoon away from Frogland or wherever it is. So yeah, that's sort of a cute little story, I suppose, if you talk to them. Next is Leo the Gravedigger, who you used to help. He put the coffins in the wrong graves, and so you'd have to match the grave with the coffin just by the picture on the grave. So it would be like a chef hat on the grave, and you'd have to put the matching coffin there. And so he got a job in Artie, and he mentions that they sort of just told him to start digging and gave him a spade, and he doesn't even know how to hold it, he says, and as you can see, he's wielding it like you'd wield a two-handed sword pretty much. So that's sort of amusing. Next, I actually probably should have shown this one first. This is the mysterious old man, and he used to teleport you away to, well, actually he was involved in a few random events, but evidently he and his friends were, well, yeah, I don't know, he talks about abducting people and some of his friends who used to do the random events, and how they were doing people service by keeping them attentive and all that. But you can actually talk through some of the options and get him to say the secret code, which summons Evil Bob, which is actually the same as the fairy ring code. And so it summons Evil Bob, as you can see, and then you can go down the trapdoor and go into the basement, which is full of all the props and things that they use for all the random events. And so yeah, there are quite a number of random events there. You can see the pinball one from that troll one with a bouncer and tilt, I believe, were the names of the two trolls. And you had to click on the different glowing pinball things. What else did they have? They have the crane there from the Evil Twin random event. Yeah, all sorts of stuff. So that's amusing. The next one is the Mime, who goes and you talk to him and ask him questions and stuff, but he just does the emotes pack, which I've never been very good at interpreting, but I don't know, maybe some people are better at that. The Pillory here is pretty straightforward. If you try thieving from the Pillory guard, you get stuck in them. You can just unlock it to go out, but yeah, that's fine. That used to be a thieving random event. There was actually another one as well where a watchman from like the watchtower would come and start attacking you, but the Pillory guard, I believe, is what replaced that. And it would, yeah, just teleport you in here, and you'd have to do a very easy puzzle to get out. Next is the sandwich lady, who sells all of those untradeable sandwich things, as well as some tradable ones, in Artie. And yeah, she has a little conversation there as well about how people used to be afraid of her because she was sort of psychotic. The next one here, and actually the last one that I have for this video, is in Port Sarim jail, and there are actually two people here. There's Rick Turpentine, who used to come in, or he wasn't a random event, I believe, but he was a highwayman who used to stand on the crossroads between Remington and Port Sarim and Falador, where those three roads crossed, and he'd say stand and deliver and try and attack you. And actually maybe he was a random, yeah, but maybe he was also a highwayman. I know he was a random at one point, because he'd if you didn't talk to him and take money from him, he would start shooting you with his crossbow. And he was actually really accurate from what I remember. And then the other prisoner in the jail here is Prisoner Pete, who has gone through a mental breakdown and is scared of balloon animals from the escape room with Evil Bob. So fair enough, yeah. Lots of interesting little randoms, and yeah, there's some that are not really shown at all anymore. One of them that's sort of cool, you can read about these in the wiki page. One of them is the strange plant that would start growing, and once it got fully grown, you'd have to pick the fruit from it, otherwise it would start attacking you. And those can actually be found in Karamja now. They grow a little bit west of the house portal, I believe, and yeah, that's sort of cool. One of the really, really old ones that wasn't in the game for a terribly long time is this, I forget what it was called, the Tango Vine, and that would start growing on the ground around someone, and if they started running away, it would start hurting them a lot. So the trick for that was to just stand still until it went away, but a lot of people just panicked and ran around and got killed by it. And it was also, I believe, the only random that affected multiple people, because it would appear for one person, but then it would spread along the ground, and if other people were running around, it would hurt them too. So yeah, there was lots of different randoms, and so I do recommend taking a look at that wiki page. It was quite an interesting read for a lot of them. I didn't mention that the candlelight thing that I showed in the chapel in the beginning, and that was where there was a monk called Pious Pete, and you had to go and light candles for him. Yeah, I forget why they took it out. I guess it was just a bit annoying to do, but that was sort of how randoms were, so I'm not really sure. But yeah, that's really it for this video. Not really a typical Pictures of the Past, but I hope you guys still enjoyed it, and maybe you guys have some stories about old randoms. Actually, talking about that, I do remember one. I was killing abyssal demons, and some guy got a drunken dwarf random and actually died from it, and I gave back his stuff, which was cool. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think I really have any other good random event stories that come to mind, but yeah, so that's it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.